Have you ever wondered what ETFs would actually make you the most money? Here's something I've been thinking about for quite a while, and now I'm deciding to do something about it. I am going to be investing $5,000 into the stock market to figure out which of these 5 ETFs really makes the best returns. Now, to make it relatively diversified, I have 3 ETFs that are just based off growth and 2 that are going to be based off dividend growth, and some growth sprinkled in there as well, of course. But I want to know, would you guys pick these 5 as well? Are there others that I should add? There's a lot of really good ETFs and even some really phenomenal single stocks that I would pick for growth. And so I always want to know your guys' feedback. What we're going to do today is a full breakdown on the 5 I am choosing and why I am choosing them to see exactly which one will come out on top in this series. And now $5,000 might be a lot to some of you, might not be a lot to others. It's definitely quite a bit of change for me. So this is all going into a retirement account. I'm really excited for this challenge, and I want to know if you guys are as well, because some of these are big name ETFs that I know that you have heard of. So let's jump into the details and see exactly which ones I'm going to be investing in. As always, if you're interested in ETFs, in stocks, and in making money in the stock market, don't forget to like the video and to subscribe so you never miss an update. Let's roll that intro. We, of course, have to start out with ticker VOO, which a lot of people hail as the king of growth ETFs. And I can't really disagree. I mean, it's an S&P 500 ETF. It has a really low expense ratio, which if you don't know what an expense ratio is, it's basically the cost of you owning the fund, right? Because the fund managers have to make some money, and so they make money off of you investing in the fund at a certain percentage. And it's very low at 0.03%. I have seen some expense ratios go up to 10%. I didn't think they could get that high, but they definitely can, and it's absolutely insane. Now, they have it as a risk-reward scale. They have it as a 4, which is higher, but I mean more risk, more reward, not terrible. I also see a lot of these ETFs as being relatively low risk because they are so diversified, right? And they always say the market just goes up, which I am a proponent of. I think long-term, the market does go up. So, really interesting one. I'm not going to dive too far into the details like I said, but if you haven't checked this one out, I really recommend doing it. One thing that's really interesting, choosing this time to invest, we are almost halfway through the year. This first 6 months of the year have been tough. Things have been beaten down really terribly. A lot of that having to do with the tariffs, which is something to think about. We can see year to date, it's down about 5%. Now, in the 1 year, it's still up 12%, meaning at one point it was up 17%. So definitely a time to buy, in my opinion, because we are seeing it at a bit of a discount, which we have seen with a lot of these. So we can also see down here the expense ratio. This is what I mean. Average expense ratio of similar funds, 0.75%, which is high, very high. Lots of details on these ETFs. I recommend checking them out if you're interested, but let me know if you think VOO is a good choice. Let's jump into our next growth choice, which is one I definitely think you know. Invesco's QQQ is one of my favorite growth ETFs, and in my opinion, it is the best. I mean, maybe QQQM, but we're getting into QQQ here. So we can see why I think that. Well, it has outperformed the S&P 500 by 379.14% since its inception in 1999. Pretty phenomenal to outperform the S&P 500. I just love it. We can see the S&P 500 since that time frame is up 605%. QQQ is up 984%. Sliding down, they have a bunch of cool graphics on their website, which again, check out the websites if you're interested. 10K invested in QQQ 10 years ago would net you $47,400. And you can bump this. I like to move it all the way around. If we go all the way up to 100K, you'd be at almost $500,000 in just 10 years. So very interesting. Now, we'll see fund details, and we want to see that expense ratio again, right? That is key. It's key because you want to know exactly what you are paying. And so they have a bunch of good info on here. Like I said, the total expense ratio is 0.2%. So quite a big jump from 0.03 from ticker VOO. Now, why am I okay with that? Well, because it's outperformed. It has been a better performer so far. So I'm okay with paying more for a fund that performs better. I think that's kind of how it should go, right? If a fund is able to outperform another fund, it should cost more to own that fund because net, you are still going to make more money. Now, QQQ, I mean, it features Apple, Google, Microsoft. You can go in and check all their holdings. Like I said, I have a video out on that already, so I'm not going to give all those details out, but it's definitely a fund I think a lot of people own and a lot of people like. And again, I'm definitely one of them. I'm probably a little bit biased. I do own most of the funds already that we are talking about today. So I'm excited to see how the new ones that I don't own perform. But first, let's get into our third and final growth ETF. You guys didn't think I would leave Schwab out of this, did you? We have their large cap growth ETF, SCHG. This is not the dividend ETF. It's a growth ETF, total expense ratio of 0.04%, which is very, very solid. And it's similar to VU, I would say. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but it's also relative. I think it's even a little bit newer. So the highlights are it's straightforward, low-cost fund with potential tax efficiency, serve as part of a core investment diversified portfolio, right? Because it's the large cap growth ETF, and access to large U.S. stocks, which is phenomenal. Large cap U.S. stocks, which I like. I like buying into the bigger players, of course, and they're classified as growth based on a number of factors, which, I mean, if Schwab wants to define it in a certain way, that's perfect for me. It gives them more work to do and me less work to do. And so they also, it looks like they did a 4-for-1 split on October 10, 2024, which is very interesting. People have different opinions on stock splits. I think most of the time when it comes to these style of like growth stocks, it's fine. Like same thing with Tesla, because you get more options ability if you're an options investor. With dividend stocks, I don't like it as much. Now we can see total holdings 229, a little bit more than the other ones we were looking at, and large growth is the category. It's a passive management style. All in all, the data looks good. It's just consistent. If we go to the performance, which again is always important, we can see year to date it is down 8.7%. So we're buying this one at a discount as well. But since inception, it's up 15.5%, which is phenomenal. The 1 year, it is up 14.74%, meaning it looks like it was outperforming VOO as well, which I like to see. I mean, I like VU. I like having all of these, to be honest. And that's how I invest with a lot of my retirement stuff, because it's just cool. So this whole objective for this challenge is to see which of these really perform the best, and how does growth compare to dividend growth, which is the next fund we are going to be getting into. And you've probably heard of it if you're a dividend-focused investor, but this one has some crazy potential. And of course, no challenge would be complete without ticker SCHD. It is probably the most popular dividend ETF. I know in 2021, 2022, it was the most purchased ETF on the market, which is absolutely insane, but you love to see it. So again, the fund's goal is to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index. So this is a dividend-focused fund, but not just a high dividend yield. It's not paying 9%. It's actually paying closer to 3.5% to 4%. But the key thing with this is it has a lot of growth on its side, meaning the dividend growth rate or compound annual growth rate is the metric in how they gauge how much the dividend is growing, right? Because if we don't see the dividend grow, but the price continues to grow, your yield will drop. And so the goal with SCHD is, one, to have that price appreciation, but also to get the dividends consistently growing so that in the long run, say over 10, 20, 30 years, you can outperform a lot of the just basic growth ETFs. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize as dividend investors. If you're in it for the long haul, the compounding effect of dividends is what I think will make you stand out and potentially make more money than someone investing just in growth stocks. Now, you heard me already say it. I invest in growth and dividend growth, and that's what this whole challenge is going to prove. Shorter term, I imagine growth ETFs will outperform the dividend growth ETFs, but long term, so depending on how long this goes for, we might be able to find out which one truly makes more money. But again, the total expense ratio is a little bit higher, 0.06%. It's got less holdings, only 103, so a little bit less diversification, but that's okay because I would say typically dividend stocks, because the companies are usually focused on maintaining their dividends, they're a little bit lower risk than something like, say, a Tesla stock or Nvidia, because they just move around a lot more. They have more volatility. Now we can see management style is passive. There's a bunch of good info on here for those of you that are interested. I always recommend checking them out. But let's look at the performance tab. Are we also buying this one at a discount? And it looks like we are. So 1 month, it is down 7.5%. On the 1 year, it's up 4.5%. And year to date, it's down 4.5%. So we do have some bounce back potential, which I love to see. Bounce back potential plus dividends would be a main factor in how SCHD can outperform just the growth ETFs on its own. But of course, it's not going to be on its own because we have one more growth ETF that I want to talk about that specializes in dividend growth, and it pays more than SCHD and has a better total return. If you don't believe me, let's jump right into it. It is expensive, but of course we have ticker DIVO. The total expense ratio, 0.56%. Pretty significant compared to the others. The most expensive one that we have. Number of holdings is low at only 35, so it's not as diversified as many of the others, but maybe that is going to help with the dividend, which is about a 5.5% dividend, and the growth has also been absolutely phenomenal. So what is DIVO? DIVO is an ETF of high quality large cap companies with a history of dividend and earnings growth. They also have, along with a tactical covered call strategy on individual stocks. It's strategically designed to offer high levels of total return on risk-adjusted basis, which is great. You can see distribution rate, it's even a little bit lower because the price has come back up since my last video on it at 4.8%. Really, really interesting. We can see 1 year at the high, it was actually sitting at $42.63. Right now we're at $40, and at one point it dropped all the way to $37. So we do have a little bit of some bounce back potential, but not as much. The nice thing with a lot of these ETFs is even in a market pullback, look at the performance long term. Absolutely insane. I mean, this thing started trading at $25. Now we're into the 40s. It at one point was up almost to 45 or 43, I should say. And it just keeps going, and you get dividends on top of that. So the key thing with these dividend growth, I should say, ETFs, is the fact that I will have drip turned on. They will be dripping the dividends. We'll do drip on all of them because QQQ and VOO both pay a small dividend, almost negligible to be honest, but that's okay. It's usually under 1% for each. But the growth factor is going to be the main reason that I think these ones do better in the long run, because you're going to have compounding with the dividends, and that's what I'm really, really excited to see. So we can see top 10 holdings: Microsoft, Caterpillar, Visa, American Express, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Home Depot, yada, yada, yada. And I'm really happy with DIVO so far. I will say it's not as popular as SCHD, doesn't have quite the fan base, but I think it could do well, and I would be really, really interested in seeing exactly how it performs compared to a lot of these other ones, both on a short-term and long-term basis. So if you guys are interested in this challenge, let me know in the comments and by liking the video, because it helps me know, they're interested. This is something that people want to see, and I'll start purchasing these and getting them all set up in an account. Another important thing as well is if you guys have any other options that you think I should buy in addition to these or instead of some of these 5 ETFs, I want to keep it around 5 because I don't want to get it too mixed up. So I would like to keep it around 5, maybe 6, but let me know what you guys think. Are there some that I should include? I was thinking I will say BRK.B, which is the Berkshire Hathaway growth. It's not even an ETF. It's a growth stock that has performed really, really well, better than some of these ones even, but I just don't know. This is an ETF challenge so far. Do I want to change that? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, the chances are you're going to like these popping up on your screen right now, including our video on VOO with 10K invested and SCHD with 10K invested. That's done extremely well. So check that one out. Let me know what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.